I cannot wait for you to listen to this episode of the Entrepreneur School podcast with Gemma Bonham-Carter. She is a mentor of mine, and she didn't even know it because I've been following her online for probably a couple of years. I'm on her email list. She writes really great emails, so definitely make sure that you subscribe through one of the links that are in the show notes here. And let me just give you a little background. If you haven't yet met Gemma Bonham-Carter, you don't know who she is a trusted voice for personal brand entrepreneurs who want to build a lifestyle first business. I mean, she just took a sabbatical for a whole year in France with her kids and her husband and had built a sustainable 7-figure business that could run in the background while she was there, which is amazing. She's renowned for her expertise in online courses and email marketing, as well as AI and sales funnels. And Gemma empowers entrepreneurs to create profitable, streamlined businesses that serve their life goals. We have so many shared values. We had such a great conversation on this episode, from everything from like how to set up the systems to grow a business in this way, what that business model looks like, and in particular, how to use Black Friday to boost your revenue as well as to create your business plan for next year. So I'm excited for you to dive into this episode. Oh my gosh, Gemma Bonham-Carter is on the Entrepreneur School podcast. Let me just have a little fangirl moment for a second about that. I'm Thank you so much for being here.
I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we met in Dallas at an event a while ago, and I did the thing I do where I awkwardly ask people in person to do things that they would have an easier time saying no to if I sent them an email. So,
Don't worry, I would have said yes still on email. It was just I'm just coming out of a season of when we lived in France for a year, for those who might not know me or know my story. And that year in France, I said no to everything. Like I didn't do a podcast interview. I didn't have people on my show. Frankly, I stopped producing my show during that time. Like I said no to everything. So right now it feels like I'm in a bit of a season of yes. So I'm glad you asked me when you did.
yes, that's amazing. And we're going to talk a little bit about that because I think is really amazing that you did take a sabbatical year with your whole family and your kids, and you went to France, and your business allowed you to do that.
Yeah.
And if we can like dig into what structure created that, and then specifically what we're going to talk about today is Black Friday coming up, which is, side note, funny because we're both Canadian, yet we've all just like jumped into Black Friday is a thing now here
You
too.
can't beat them, join them,
Yeah,
right?
totally. So your business is based on courses and digital products and selling things that are very like, I guess from your perspective, less of you and more like you create and then you can sell them like at scale, which is a
Yeah,
super awesome concept. So maybe just like dive into the, reason for that and why that's amazing and who that's a good fit for too.
totally. Yeah. I think honestly, I got into this kind of model a long time ago, like 2016, 2017 was when I first launched my early online courses, and it was in a totally different space. It was about blogging because that was the background I was coming from. And the thing about this model is like I had babies at home. So at the time, it was my only option. Like I could not have calls on the calendar. I really even felt nervous to have deliverables on my plate that were like, so say I wanted to get into services or working with clients, like it felt very nerve-wracking to have deadlines and people that I was kind of having to, respond to when you had babies at home. And sometimes that meant like you guys got sick for a week, or the week didn't turn out the way you thought it was going to, or, you kind of had to hit pause on everything for an extended amount of time. So this business model for me really was born out of necessity. And so I launched my first courses way back then, eventually made a pivot in 2019, 2020 to talking about how I did what I did, like how I launched courses, how I built it to the revenue and the success that I had been able to get to. It's kind of like that natural pivot and progression that sort of happens with a lot of business owners. And I've been teaching it ever since. And I think that getting back to like the France piece is one thing to remember is like, I've been doing this for a minute. So it's not like I was able to launch my course and 4 months later, we're raking in millions overnight and I can peace out to France. This has been a long-term build of me growing my email list, growing my audience base, having some really compelling, good foundational offers in my business. So two of which I have two sort of bigger ones. One is Course Creator School, which is for like the first time course creator, and one is called Passive Project, which is really for existing established course creators. We come in and we really lean into all the ways in which you can increase your sales as a course creator and do it in a, as chill way as possible. Because that's really the ethos for me is like, how can I build, I call it like a lifestyle first business, meaning
Mhm.
I don't want to have a ton of calls on the calendar. That just doesn't work for me. I don't want to be at the beck and call of people all the time. I want to feel like I could hit pause if I wanted to, and everything would still be okay. And that's like, not that I didn't work in France, I absolutely did, but certainly everything was dialed down. And it felt like a year of like coasting. And that would really only be possible through this model, through having set up like the systems and sales funnels and all of the things that I have in the background, the ad strategy, right? Like the audience growth strategy, everything that's set up so that I can make sales consistently on autopilot and with, fairly reasonably relaxed launching.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for shining the light on the fact that it wasn't just like 4 months and now I'm going to France. And because I still think we have a lot of misconceptions out there on the internet about the speed at which you should be able to achieve six,
Yeah.
seven figures in your business. And so thank you. I appreciate like the realness of that.
Yeah.
Especially as someone who's like been at it for 7 years, not necessarily in the digital space for that long, but still it can feel frustrating if it's like, well, how come it hasn't turned into what I wanted to turn into yet? Right.
Totally. Yeah, for
And,
sure. And the other thing I think is like people throw around seven figure. I mean, some people are even throwing around eight figure. The other thing that is important to remember is like, what is it that you want? Like, don't be building someone else's dream business if it doesn't line up with what you want. And when you see behind the scenes of some of those, businesses that maybe you look up to, it's probably not all like green grass and roses over there. So
yeah.
I think it's really important to have the vision of what it is that you want for yourself. And actually, before we hit record on this episode, Kelly and I were chatting about like our human design and how that plays into like the way in which we put offers out there and run our businesses and come up with products and services. And that is just another example of like it has to line up with what works for you and what your vision is. Because I don't know if you've noticed this, but like a lot of people go and build these giant businesses and then they burn them down. And the reason is because they were building someone else's dream. They were building someone else's vision of what they thought they wanted. And then they got there and it didn't solve all the problems.
Yeah, that is so true. And at the same time, too, like I talk about this with so many different people, and I've had like helicopter owners on this podcast before. So people who make a lot of money who have also talked about how important it is to be able to stay present and satisfied in the now versus
Yes,
always just chasing those bigger numbers, those quote unquote success markers that we are societally, you know, brainwashed basically to believe. So,
totally. I think it's
but
so important to celebrate every milestone along the way. Because if you're not like, I don't know, it sounds sad, like
yeah.
stop for a minute and enjoy it. And yeah, like I actually can think back on some of my earliest kind of wins. I feel like I was more excited back then than I have been other times when I might hit that like six-figure launch that people sort of dream about, right? The satisfaction was far greater. I remember the first time I launched a course and I think I made like $8,000 and I felt like I hit the jackpot. Like it was
Yes.
like, this is amazing. I was on such a high. So the thing is like enjoy that, you know?
Yes. But let's celebrate you for a moment because there's a reason why we're going to talk about Black Friday. And that's because you have mastered it. And And you've been able to create some incredibly successful Black Friday campaigns for your business. And you've now turned this into a like mini program. I have it, so I can endorse that for sure on how to set up your own Black Friday campaign and figure out like how you're using it differently, not just for sales, but even for like research around what you might want to expand into or add on to in your business this year. So, looking at it from that perspective, let's chat Black Friday, 5 days of deals, the Gemma Bonham-Carter way.
Such a good intro to that. Thank you. I feel like I need to like clip that and put it on my sales page or something.
Sure.
But yeah, this whole little strategy, the 5 days of deals thing, it came about actually way back in 2019. I was watching Amazon, right? Do their Amazon Prime days and have these like flashing, or what do they call them? Like flash deals or lightning deals. That's what they call
Oh,
them.
yeah.
And I was like, okay, interesting. Like, I think it's always fascinating to look at marketing from different perspectives in different industries. And I was like, okay, Amazon's doing something cool here. It's clearly working. Like, all the people on Instagram or like all the influencers are telling us about these lightning deals, right? And so I thought, well, how about trying that instead of just doing like some regular sale on Black Friday where it's like 30% off everything, one day only, so boring, right? Why don't we do 5 days? Why don't we do lightning deals, one a day for 5 days? And at the time, I had two products. One that I was excited about continuing, one that I wanted to retire. Okay. So I was like, what am I going to do for these 5 days? And to your point, that's when you can have fun with like experimenting. And I actually pre-sold three things. So I put three offers out there in addition to the two I already had that I hadn't made yet. That I just thought, okay, I had, like as an entrepreneur, you're jotting down ideas all the time. So I kind of picked the three that I would love to see and test in the marketplace, see if my audience kind of went for it. And two of them in particular, they really did. And that meant the following year, I built those things out, one of which became Course Creator School, like one of my signature offers to this day.
Mm.
And so I think it can be such an interesting opportunity to do that. And I think sometimes the 5 days of deals scares people if they, let's say, only sell one thing or if they only sell like, high ticket web design or something like that. But you can get really creative with what those 5 things can look like. And they don't all have to be digital products or courses. It could be like, okay, one of my days, I'm going to sell 5 spots to, this is one I did last year. It was a day of Voxer coaching. So it was like, I'm only putting 5 out there. That's the urgency. 5 of them filled. When it's done, it's done. And that was something that I had never sold before. So it was a brand new thing to my audience. So you can get really creative with this. I've actually put together like an AI assistant. So I'll make sure I share the link with you, Kelly, and it'll be in the show notes here. It's free. You can go ahead and play with this and put in you can be like, I'm, a naturopath and I help women in perimenopause and da 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 da. And currently I sell, I don't know, whatever it is that you sell. Maybe it's just one-on-one work. But describe that. Put it into the AI assistant and click enter. And it'll feed back to you 5 different ideas of things that you could do for your 5 days of deals. And if you don't like one of them, tell it. It'll give you another one. Like I've trained it on the types of offers that we recommend for these campaigns. And this is the last thing I'll say because I feel like I'm droning on and on. But this 5 days of deals things, it's not just me that has tried this. I've now taught this to so many students. We've had over 500 people purchase Black Friday in a box to date. And we've actually had over like 150 just purchase it in the last couple weeks this year in 2024. So, and we have incredible testimonials, like some of whom are like beating my records, that I love. Like, poof, if the student surpasses the teacher, I'm like, yes, you go, like you go out there and get it. So, yeah, it works. Last year we made almost 6 figures in the 5 days.
Wow, that's amazing. Okay, I want to ask a couple of like detailed questions because I'm going to have a confession. So I bought it, I did it, I tried it. It was fun, the process. I am going to do it again.
Yep.
And I didn't have a record breaking testimonial to give you as far as like the income went. But I think to be curious about why, right? And so what I want to know from you and like in terms of like how to prepare your audience, how to like get even if you don't have a huge list, because I don't think that you necessarily have to have like super high quantity of people, but this is a piece that I know that you do really well. And it's partly making sure that you don't just like start having a sale without anybody knowing that it's coming, that it's
100%.
aligned with things that you've already been talking about. So maybe like share some strategy and insights around how to really set it up for success.
Absolutely. So that's such a great point to tease out. And if I were to think back, like I love all wins. It could be a win of like you made $500 in the week and sold things that you hadn't made yet. So, I take all levels of wins. Or sometimes the win might just be like my audience got really into it and excited and I got more engagement and messages than I had all year, right? But if I think of our most successful people with Black Friday in a box, people who have made 46K in the week, 52, 75, 94K. Like these are all real numbers from real entrepreneurs and not necessarily in the business space, right? Some of these are like author coaches and someone who's in like the real estate space. So when I think of all of them and myself, what do we have in common? We nurture our email lists as the top priority in our business. So it's less about growing on social. And in fact, some of those people who've had over 50K weeks, they don't even have an Instagram account.
Hmm.
Two, two of what, three of them that I'm thinking of off the top of my head don't do Instagram. They just have email lists that they pour into. And actually, two of those three, and myself as well, have podcasts. And podcasts like this one, right? This is a great opportunity. You have your earbuds in as a listener. You're really getting to know me. You're really getting to know Kelly. We're feeling like we're friends, right? Like you're really connecting with us. And
Mm-hmm.
that really creates that deep trust and connection with the audience, email and podcast more than any social platform, in my opinion. So, to your question, I think that plays a role. And it's like if you've been doing that consistently all year, well, when you bring out this epic 5 days of deals, that loyal, engaged audience with you, they're like, damn, this is the best time to buy from Gemma because I know these deals are better than anything else she puts out all year. This is my moment to jump in. And it's the people, it's the audience members usually who are the ones who've been hanging with you for a while. They're the
Yeah.
ones like jumping into stuff. And so
Yeah.
I think like, yeah, you don't want to just come and say the day before, hey, we're running a sale and it starts tomorrow. There's the weeks in lead up where if you can be putting content out there that is deeply connecting with your audience, but also positioning yourself as the expert. And I talk about like big idea content. So what does that mean? It means like I'm sharing, it's like thought leadership stuff. I'm sharing an opinion. I'm sharing my take on something, my viewpoint on something that's going on in my industry. And if I can like kind of shift the way someone's thinking about their problem or thinking about something to do with my niche, that stays with them. It's like I can think back to some of the most transformational podcasts or emails that I've like written or sorry, not written, read or listened to from others where it got me, and
Wow.
those people are people that I continue to like want to listen to and follow to this day.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my background is in PR, which is so interesting when applied to this like marketing kind of strategy. When you can get somebody to think differently about something, that's the ultimate win for both sides.
Exactly.
Hmm. So, okay, so email list nurturing, totally top priority. We know, I mean, I know this about you that this is like what you preach more than anything else.
Yeah.
That we build a relationship. What are some of the things like what is your email list size just for context
Yeah.
for people?
So at the time of this recording, so in late 2024, it's at about 33,000 active subscribers. Um, and, it's grown steadily. So I started to do the 5 days of deals back in 2019. Ooh, I'd be curious to go back and see what my list size was at that time. But I want to say it was certainly under 20K, probably under 15,000. Probably it was probably somewhere in the 10,000 range. I could go back and find those numbers exactly, but in that week, my very first one, I think I did like $8,000 in revenue, largely from things I hadn't built yet.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? I'm going to ask you for your like top like one or two um suggestions for how to what to kind of think about. We've got the AI tool that you talked about. I also know that you put out a podcast episode. I was listening to it last week with like really good ideas. So I'll link that below too so people can go get a deeper dive. But like
Yeah.
what do you think performs best or what's like the most exciting thing that you suggest to people to think about in terms of when they figure out what their product is going to be?
Totally. So I think one thing that's important to think about, given that we have 5 days, you want to think about the different buyers in your audience. So there are certain buyers that are people who are newer to you. They are going to probably jump into kind of maybe the lowest ticket thing you have to kind of dip their toes into, okay, what's she all about or he all about? You know, I'd like to like experience some of what they have to offer. And so if you have some kind of really exciting, fresh, new low ticket offer, and low ticket is relative to your pricing model. Like someone who sells stuff in the $0 to $500 range, low ticket might look like 27 bucks. Someone who sells something in the $5 to $15,000 range, low ticket might be $2,000, right? Like it totally depends on it's relative to your pricing scale. And then you're going to have buyers who are like, I just want the most access. I want the most either done for you or, yeah, closest to Gemma or closest to Kelly offer that they have so that I can get the furthest, the fastest. And so you're going to have certain buyers in your audience like that. And then you're going to have other people who have been eyeing your signature program or your signature offer or product or service or whatever that is. They've been eyeing it for 6 months, 12 months, however long, and they're waiting for the best moment to jump in. And this is interesting. So Passive Project for me is like my main, like go all in with Gemma group program. And last year we did it on the Friday of Black Friday, 5 days of deals, and we offered it at a great rate. It was like the rate of our past launch before we increased the price. So it was like 24 hours only. I'm going to give it to you for the price that we did it in our last launch before the price increased. And this is a program that like you're going to jump in with me and we're going to be together all next year. Like we're coaching you all next year. We're growing your business next year, kind of like did some future pacing there. And all those people who had been in my space for a while and had been kind of humming and hawing about joining Passive,
Mhm.
that was like the cincher for them. They were like, "Oh my gosh, yep, I'm in. I want to do 2024 with you, Gemma." And we had something like, I don't know, over 30 people join just on that one day for like a program that we were selling for over 2K. So that was like our biggest day for sure. So you're going to have all of these different buyer types in your audience. And so I think what's important is to think through those people, who those people could be, and have offers that relate to each one. Like, I don't think having 5 days of all low ticket digital downloads is net unless you're just like an e-commerce digital download shop, like I just don't think that that would be the right fit. So it's about playing with price diversity as well as offer style diversity. Like
Mhm.
some of these things can be fully digital download, they could be group programs, they could be done for you services, they could be coaching, they could be any type of thing. Does that make sense?
Totally. And actually, I'm hearing this differently when you're saying this right now. So I want to like share my interpretation, which is interesting. When you're thinking about your audience, what the way I'm interpreting this is like I'm thinking about what have they even seen from me? What have they maybe already been offered or know about in terms of their awareness of something that I do, whether it's a particular product. And in my case, the program that I was selling for like the last year has been retired and turned into something else, but it still has a very similar like outcome.
Yes.
So that's what I'm thinking about. Like, how many people have actually seen that offer who might actually be interested in it now, like you said, and they have actually been thinking about it low key to some degree for months, if not even a year. And I
Yeah.
think this is an interesting conversation to just expand a little bit into the whole buyer journey these days And like sometimes maybe we're frustrated as business owners who are selling programs online because it's taking a lot longer to get
Mhm.
people to jump into things. So I love this mix of like low key, easy, yes, like products, programs, whatever,
Mhm.
and like the stuff that you've been kind of breadcrumbing or sharing in different ways, even if it's been an evolution over time, and then like the top access level stuff too.
Yeah.
It sounds
Like
fun to deliver as like as the person making the sale too.
I totally agree. I find every year this like re-energizes me about my business and about my offer suite. And
Nice.
it couldn't come at a better time because you want to kind of do that thinking and that reflection before going into the new year. So you kind of
Yes.
go into the new year with like the vision of, okay, this is what I want to offer. This is feeling really good for me at this time in my business. And this is just kind of like the 6 weeks before, right? So you can like set things up and get things rolling. And in the case of pre-selling something or filling slots for some more high level work that you might be offering, like what a great way to start the year off with a bang, you know?
Yes, yes, that's so good and a really important point, and I totally agree. It's interesting, like every Black Friday, I have sold a planning workshop, like the next year planning, and I sell it now because I do believe you have to, you know, use your brain on this before you like turn into a chocolate like a cookie over the Christmas holiday
Totally. That's a
because our
really good
brain
analogy.
we
Like
stop
we all turn into cookies.
we are going to turn into cookies and eggnog or whatever we like to consume. And we need to think about our business strategically before. And even being able to back it up to pre Black Friday if we're doing these Black Friday sales and thinking about what that looks like. And as you said that, I just realized that I have been doing that thinking for myself. So
Yeah,
it feels even better to think about jumping into creating a 5 days of deals campaign. So, do you
totally.
want to talk a little bit about Black Friday in a box too, and what people get access to when they jump in on that? Because there will be a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a really like affordable program that'll just hold your hand in executing this campaign. So there's a workshop that you can dive into and sort of understand the nuance of the strategy in more depth. That's kind of the main kind of component of the program. But then what we've done is created a campaign playbook that is literally like I was actually updating it yesterday. So all the students, I'm going to have to send an email to be like, go download the latest version because it's like the mothership of like all your entire campaign is going to be organized from this playbook. And it's got all of your what you send, when you send it, what you should be like going on social media and talking about on each day. We basically start the first week of November and run through the entire month for you of what you should be doing and when. And then new for this year, we also created an entire basically like a Google Doc full of the emails that you need to send with the most like we tried to make it the most minimal plug and play possible. And we've given guidance on how you can take the templates we've given you and actually use ChatGPT and be like, okay, here are my 5 deals. Here are the templates. Please go ahead and fill these in. And it'll spit back to you your emails. And then literally you just need to take them and go put them into your email service provider. And then we've got more things like we've got a special lesson on pricing, on automation, on like special additional tactics you can use if you have a small list. So like yeah, if you have like less than 500 or less than 1,000 people on your list, what are some of the ways that you can just go a little bit above and beyond to secure more sales that you can't do when you have a bigger list? There's just too many people. So, yeah, I think there's about like 8 to 10 different kind of lessons inside the program itself, but the main things being the workshop, this campaign playbook, your emails all written for you. Oh, and we also have a template pack. So if people want to just also make like the social media and the graphics and the mock-ups so much faster, it's a $37 add-on bump at time of purchase. And it's literally the like the templates that I use. So if you go and like scroll back on my Instagram to like my Black Friday sale last year in 2023 and you see all the images, like those were pulled from our actual template pack. So we give you the graphics that you'll need for like carousels, your Instagram pin banner at the top, the graphics you need for your emails, et cetera, et cetera. Oh, and one other thing. Sorry, I'm getting all excited now. The other
Yeah.
thing that we are doing for this year that I actually haven't even announced to anybody yet, and I've got to start doing it. We just put the finishing touches on it. Is I worked with my favorite Show It designer. So if you happen to be using Show It as your like landing page website builder, we now have a template for your Black Friday sales page. So it's like a one-click install the template, and then you just need to like literally pop in your words. We've showed you where to put them. You just like pop your words in about your 5 offers. You pop in your mock-up of your 5 offers, and like we've given you the Canva template to make that easy. And then it's done. So we're trying to make it like as fast as possible to prep the campaign, giving as many tools as we can to make it super straightforward and easy.
Oh my gosh. Well, I can't wait to go back and look at it again now. I'm putting Black Friday planning on my list for next week.
Perfect.
As I knew we were having this conversation and that I'd be able to get excited about it again too. This has been an amazing conversation. Is there any like bigger picture, final piece of advice that you want to give to the entrepreneurs who are listening to this, who are like my listeners? They're growing various businesses in various industries, generally like service providers, coaches, consultants, and course creators as well.
Yeah, I think the thing is, one of the biggest things is like just to stick with it. I think one of the reasons why I've been able to grow my business to the level it's at is that I just never let myself, I never thought once that it wouldn't work out. So I just have always gone into it with the mindset that this will work. This will be successful. Maybe not every step I take is the right step, but ultimately I am going down the path that I'm going to end up with the vision of what I hope to build. And that vision can change over time. When I think back to like my early days of like what I used to write on, I didn't really journal, but I had this jar, this like mason jar, and I would write on little pieces of paper like goals that I really, or like things that I really wanted to have come to fruition. And I'd put them in the jar. And then every day I'd like pull one out and read it and be like, okay, like I hope that happens, and put it back in the jar. And I can sit here now, like, I don't know, 6 years later, and like all of those things have happened now. And so I think that's the biggest thing is to just keep going, believe in yourself, like have that. It's okay if you don't always feel confident, but like the deep confidence in you that you can figure it out and you can make it work, I think is so important for, being a business owner and building what it is that you hope to build. Um, and then also be like nimble to the pivot when the pivot makes sense. Because sometimes people can also like try the same thing over and over for a really long time. And at some point, sometimes you need to realize that you need to make a shift somewhere. And then everything clicks into place. And you're like, oh, this is what I should have been doing the whole time. Or, oh, okay, this is the better path for me. So sometimes people can hold on a little too long.
Oh, that's all such good advice and great. Like repeat that, listen to that again. Okay. Out of nowhere, I'm sure you get asked this all the time. Are you related to Helena Bonham-Carter?
I knew you were going to ask that. I can always tell when it's like leading up to that. Yes, she is my dad's like second cousin. So yes, we are related. Sadly, I have no like great stories of like hanging out with Johnny Depp or anything to report back, but she's pretty quirky. She's pretty cool. She makes good movies and yes, yeah, we're related.
That is funny. I didn't know that. I was like, but then also it's such a unique last name. So of course
Yeah. Yeah. No, if any of your listeners like ever meet another Bonham Carter, like we're all related. It was like something like 13 generations ago where the Bonham and the Carters came together. It was like a land thing. So we've been Bonham Carter for a long time. So yeah, we're related. And you know what's funny, Kelly, is like definitely you are not the only one to obviously I get asked in my personal life all the time, but like even from a business perspective, it's so funny when I got my reports from Google of how people have found me or like what the search terms are that people are searching with my name. Always in the top 5 is Gemma Bonham-Carter related to Helena Bonham-Carter. Always. I think I just need to like write a blog post about it or something and embed it into my site because I'd get great SEO.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, that's hilarious and amazing. And thank you
Yeah.
so much for sharing all of your wisdom and your strategies. And like we covered so much in this short podcast episode. So I hope that everyone who's listening, please go and connect with Gemma on her podcast and Instagram. Tell everyone where to come and hang out with you.
Yeah, if you are into like if you're a podcast listener and want to subscribe to a new show, it's called The Course Creator Show. You can find it on whatever listener you're using right now. And then come say hey on Instagram. I'm at Gemma.Bonham-Carter. And as we talked about, I'll make sure that Kelly has the link for that free AI assistant if you want to play with that too. And you know what? I'll also make sure you have the link for one of my hottest like freebies is a set of swipe emails from one of my six-figure launches. So I'll make sure you've got that link too.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Gemma.
Thanks, Kelly.